Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I am Sharika Sanders, CEO and founder of Transform the Gap, where I mentor accountants, taking them from here to there. Here being overworked, underappreciated, overlooked, to there being career fulfillment, leadership transformation, conflict resolution, effective communication, and understanding how to professionally advocate for themselves. And today I have another great person that I know that you should know. And without further ado, Paty, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much, Sharika. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Paty Araiza. I have a background in sales. I got the incredible opportunity to grow from being an SDR to being an SDR managing and managing a big team, to then taking those skills and becoming an enabler and helping an entire sales department. And just recently, I decided to take a stab at entrepreneurship. It's something I've always wanted to do, hence kind of sales is a little bit like entrepreneurship, and launched Ignite Sales Academy, which is focused on sales recruiting. Our goal is really to help place top tier sales professionals, specifically SDRs or people trying to break into tech sales with tech companies. So that's what I focus on. I help recruiters and recruiting teams to identify those talents. And then I also help those trying to break into tech sales to stand out and really make a name for themselves to land those roles.
I love that, and I appreciate your focus. Um, People would always say, when they find out what I do, oh, it's very niche, and I don't know anybody else that does that. And but I, while I've heard of coaches for salespeople, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you do is more involved in helping to cultivate the person and making sure that they are aligned with not only what they're doing, but the company they're doing it with, and just having that expertise and that um, know how, that want to, all the things that really make for a great salesperson. And so I love that you've taken your experience and seen the things that you've seen within your career space and now taken that to say, okay, how can I help others? So I think that's very commendable.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I feel like my entire career has been marked with helping other people. That's kind of what led me very quickly into leadership. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Money's great, but I get so much more reward out of seeing somebody succeed and get to where they want to go. Yeah, so my mission in life, I would say, is to empower others to reach their full potential. And what better way to do that than helping them get the job that they're looking for?
That's amazing. And before we even get to the question, you've already just said something that I just want to even highlight, which um, how you became into leadership by helping others, because a lot of people think leadership is about telling other people what to do, but for me leadership is about servanthood, and it's with helping others, and honestly serving your team and being available and being there for others is how you become a true leader, whether it's by title or just by appointment, honestly. So I love that little golden nugget that you just dropped there before we even made it to our question. And so to segue into the question of the day, Paty, please tell us, what is another thing that you know that we should know?
Well, with I guess looking at potential, right? And that kind of being my life mission in everything that I do as a mom, as a youth leader, as an enabler, as a recruiter, is looking at potential. And I think that that is so incredibly important in the recruiting space, not just recruiting for sales, but recruiting for any role in general.
Mm.
Um, Resumes are important to look at experience and to get a little bit of a background on the person, but they should not be the defining factor on whether this person makes it through or not, because there's so much more behind a resume than the person can bring.
Yes.
And I think especially, when we talk about diversity and DEI, if you're looking at the resume and you're looking for things that are specific, oh, they worked at, since you're in accounting, the big four companies, right?
Mhm.
And they graduated from these four schools and they have this experience, then you're going to get a certain group of people
Yep.
that most likely look the same way
Yep.
and have the same experiences when there's a much wider group of people that can actually do the job.
Mhm.
So being able to have an interview process where you're looking not just at a resume and their previous experience, but testing for the skills that they have that they can bring to the table. That's a
Yep.
really, really great way, not only for DI initiatives and increasing diversity, which is important, but at the end of the day, it's not just about having that, because if you have diversity, but they're not succeeding, like, why are you here? Um, it's about finding the people that are going to be the best fit. And the best fit people don't necessarily have to have that like checkbox of a resume
Yes.
where everything is there. It's about the potential and the skills that they're bringing to the table.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I 100% co-sign that statement. And I think it resonates across several different industries and job types and departments, all the different things, because people do get really caught up in having certain credentials and going to a particular type of school. I remember even being in corporate myself, it was only look for these type of schools. And if they're not from these type of schools, then we don't want them. And I would laugh to myself because I'm like, you're telling me that? And I didn't even go to a traditional 4-year university. But okay. And so it's hearing those things, and people would get caught up in that. And well, I know if that, and they would try to validate it. I know if they went to this school, they have this skill set, they can do this, they can do that, and all of these other things. And it's like, while that's great, you do realize those people that you're bringing in here now are reporting to me, a person who didn't have that traditional background, the one who don't I don't look like everyone else that you're bringing in here. And I completely, honestly defy all of the reasons why you want to have and go through this particular type of search. So obviously, there isn't just I can't think of the phrase that I want to say, but because I can't think of that one, I'll say this one. The whole the phrase one trick pony, where, oh, it's just this one way. It has to be just this one way and that's it. Like, you really overlook a lot of people when you're set and held on these specific requirements of how you think something or someone is supposed to look, or how their resume is supposed to look. And sometimes people have the best resume and you get them in front of you for the interview and there's no personality. There's no, you can tell they are not committed. They won't be committed to you or to the company. They're all about self. They don't work well with others. And then you have the person who may not have all of those same skill sets on their resume, but they're willing to learn. They're open to be trained. They're willing to help. They're the ones that are going to raise their hand when you need the extra help. Hey, can someone stay late? Or, whatever the case may be. So I thank you for calling that out, because I think that's something that's very helpful. I think that's something that leaders often need to be reminded of, because sometimes even those of us who didn't come from the traditional background forget what it took to get to where we are. And so being able to reach back and give someone else a hand, help somebody else up, is always it's just what you should do, honestly.
No, for sure. I agree. And I wouldn't be here if I hadn't gotten the opportunities that I'd gotten, if people didn't take a chance
Yes.
on me. And I guess I'll say something a little controversial maybe. But just looking at like, oh, they went to the school, so I know it means they have this, that's lazy. Like
Yep.
that is you saying, okay, well, this is going to make my life easier because I don't have to test for these skills, versus thinking about, okay, let's take the time and look at this job description. what are the actual skills that they need to have that can't be taught? Because
Mm,
and there are some companies, like for example, if I'm working with a very small startup, that the person might need to have a little bit more experience because they don't have a training department. Or if I'm
right.
working with a bigger company, like for example, I did enablement, I did a lot of sales training, I did a lot of hand holding for anybody that came in. So we didn't need to look at as much as experience, but potential. But there's a level of like complacency and laziness of like this means this and this means this,
Yes.
where there's so many unconventional backgrounds that can have fit within those same skills. So I mean, I'm a mom, so I'm always going to advocate for moms. But work like stay-at-home parents who have transitioned into sales, that's something I've seen, right? They may not have that experience, that background, but my goodness, talk about like grit. Okay, that's something you need
Mm,
in sales, perseverance,
hmm.
ability to negotiate, communicate. That's what you're doing all day as a parent. You
Yes.
it is the hardest job. It is the hardest job. Maternity leave was probably the hardest, which is why I went back to work because I was like, this is too difficult. So I'm going to work for something else. You don't get breaks, you don't do anything,
Right.
right? Negotiating, you're constantly negotiating with your kids on a constant basis. I read a parenting book about how to talk to your kids. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is objection handling. Like, that's basically what it is. Acknowledge what they say,
Hmm.
explain why it's important, get them to the conclusion. But people don't think about it that way. They're like, oh, stay-at-home parents, they've been, they don't have that skill, they haven't been in corporate. There's
Yep.
just so many opportunities if you think about, okay, what are the skills that are gonna be needed to be successful in that role? It opens up so many possibilities than just I don't want to look for that. Instead, I'm going to look for this, and this.
That's I agree with your controversial statement. Um, and I've definitely seen it as well. And I love the way that your take on that, because motherhood, parenthood is very much like sales when you look at it like that. And I'll even say this for those who are entrepreneurs and are afraid of sales and are, the idea of sales is very intimidating to them. If you look at how you go through your everyday life, how when you go in a store and they don't have, you want the last, I don't know, TV, and it's the one that's on display. And they're like, oh, we don't sell the one that's on display. And you're like, hey, but what about this? And you automatically go into negotiation mode because it's something that you really want. And if we start looking at things like that, and not looking at it as a sale, so to speak, but about the relationship and building building that trust even, because that's absolutely what we have to do in these everyday interactions, then it will make us feel even more comfortable. So I thank you so much for your time, for your multiple nuggets of wisdom. Um, I appreciate it. I will make sure Patty's information is included and linked within the information of the details of the post, as well as make sure that Patty is tagged as well. If you have any questions, if you'd like to learn more, if you would like to find out more information, if you would like for Patty to dig a little bit deeper about something that we talked about, then please reach out, have that conversation. You heard her say it herself. It's to help make people better. And so let her help you, help you. All right. Thank you, Patty, so much for taking the time to speak with me today and share your nuggets of wisdom. I appreciate it. And any final words?
It's been a pleasure meeting with you. And for anybody that is looking for help in hiring for potential, this is great. It's all theoretical, right? But then how do you actually do it? That might be what you're thinking. You're like, that's awesome. I wish I could do that. More than happy to, be a resource for you and talk about what I've done to hire for potential and build really successful teams as a result of doing that.
All right. You heard it from the expert herself. So thank you again. I appreciate your time. And until next time, bye.